More maintenance on the 7-ton. Today I'm going to be changing the power steering fluid and filter. Normally this isn't that big of a deal because it doesn't get any soot or doesn't get burnt. It's just basically hydraulic oil. But see that cap right there? I didn't have that. When I picked up the truck, there was nothing covering the reservoir. And so bar stove dirt and everything else got in there. So I was able to source a cap, but now I want to change the fluid. And here's kind of my setup. I'm going to pop the top off and I'll get you up there in a second to see the inside. But what I'm going to do is I got a vacuum going to a 5-gallon bucket with this hose popped into it. And I'm just going to extract it all out and then change the filter. Filter I got in a maintenance kit for these trucks. So I got every filter on here. You can pause that if you want to get the information off it. But pretty hefty filter. You can see the whole size of my hand there. So anyway, I'm not going to film this whole thing, but I'll kind of do it in stages. So next I'm going to jump up there, pop the top off, see what it looks like on the inside. All right, well, we're up here now. That couldn't have been easier. This lid is basically, it's got like 2 half shell, and it's like kind of like a V-band clamp. So there's no, is there a seal? Yeah, there's a seal in there. But, so we'll pull that seal off and clean it. I'm going to paint this while I'm at it. This truck is so rusty. So we'll clean that all up and paint it. But that fluid, I put that, I don't know if you saw my other videos, I put a dye in here to see because I thought I had a leak. It ended up being an engine oil leak. So that's why that fluid looks all fluorescent. But, I mean, you can't even mess this up. The filter says this end up. And the new one doesn't say that, but one hole is smaller than the other, so we'll be able to figure that out. Here's the TM for fluid capacity. You can see their power steering reservoir, 9 quarts. That's probably just a reservoir, judging by the size of this thing. The total capacity, who knows? I was joking with a friend of mine. This is either a supply or return line, and God, that's got to be 1.5 inches diameter, which is this alone will hold over a gallon. So these have a drain on the bottom, but it's not worth for me pulling that and draining it out. I'm just going to suck it out with the vacuum, and that way hopefully there's nothing blocking me and I can get that suction tube from the vacuum all the way down in here and try to get all this out, because like I said, this has to have had water and just a bunch of fine, that fine desert silt. So anyway, I'll do this, suck it all out off camera. Surprise, surprise. There's some goodies down there that shouldn't be. Here is my dipstick that I thought the truck didn't have. So that's a keeper. Not sure what that is, but that might be the seal for the dipstick. I'll have to look. And then this is that lower washer off the filter. So there's one filter there, one washer. There's another one here. I think what happened. Oh, and then my plan to suction out of that big return line is not going to work because there's a screen and that screen doesn't come out. So what I did was, oh, and by the way, I don't know how many of you saw that little clear line I was using. No chance of that ever working. I just ended up using a garden hose. That was going to take forever with that clear hose. So what I'm doing to get the rest of the fluid out is I just cracked that nut loose on that power steering line. It's a 15/16. It's pretty simple, and man, it's pouring out. So that's if you guys are paying attention and you want to drain it the easy way, it's just that line. Kind of cool. You can see the fluorescent dye coming out of there. So yeah, we would have been here till next year with the clear line. That's a New Year's Eve joke, if anyone got that. But so I just used an old garden hose that I use for different kind of stuff. So I'll have to figure out what this is supposed to look like, because I think what happened is I think this filter is supposed to seat against the bottom. And I think there's something that's supposed to hold it down, which is not there. So I think this was bypassing the whole time and not filtering. Because I assume this center one, sorry, I'm having a hard time holding this camera, but I assume this is the suction and that bottom one's the return. Because there's nothing to hold. Let's open this filter up. Go through this one-handed, sorry. If you just set this down in there, there's nothing to hold that down. That spring, and so this thing could just float, I guess. Anyway, I'll have to figure that out, but anyway, that's where we're at so far. That's why I'm draining the whole system, because if this was just bypassing the filter, it probably got all kinds of junk running through it. Anyway, we'll check back in a minute. All right, we're back. It's like a week later since I started this video. I started it on New Year's Eve, but I think I found the part I was missing. It's basically this cupped washer, and you'll see kind of in the assembly how it goes together, but you can't just type in Oshkosh, filter, because this isn't a consumable item. I don't think a lot of people lose it, so they don't really sell a replacement. This is actually off like a 57 Thunderbird, which is crazy that I found that, but I just had to drill the center out a little bit, and if you've ever tried to drill a super thin washer, it doesn't get perfect. But what's stupid is I should have just made a flat washer. That spring would sit a little bit higher, and it would keep a little more tension on the filter, but whatever. Here we are. So what happens is this filter drops in like that. This cupped washer fits right there, and I think maybe part of its job is to sit inside and make a tight seal and keep this from rocking around. So anyway, this is all cleaned up, ready to go, so we'll go ahead and drop that in. What a mess this has been, trying to find all this crap and order it. So that fits on pretty good. Spring goes on there. That seems like a lot of tension, but we'll see. I hope this is what it's all supposed to look like. I guess we'll find out when someone else does their power steering filter. So I'm not going to crank down on that too much. I don't think it needs a whole lot. That's sitting on there pretty good. And we'll go ahead and put some oil in it. I might as well fill some of it up now rather than trying to do it through the little fill hole in the top. So curious to see how much this takes, because I drained a lot of the system out, so that drain. I was going to fill this up before even putting the filter on, but then I thought, well, might as well filter the new oil. Alright, so there's about 1.5 gallons. These weren't completely full. I'll continue to drain this container out and try to save as much as I can. So big thanks to my buddy John in Utah for popping the top off of his reservoir in the freezing cold to kind of see what it looks like down in there. So, and we'll let that, I'll fill the rest of that up once I put the lid on. So we'll go ahead and put the gasket back on. I'm going to lube some of this up, give this O-ring kind of a fighting chance on sealing and not getting pinched. You know, the funny part, this video will probably not help anybody, because whatever mechanic put this thing back together, I doubt anyone we'll experience the same problem with that missing washer, but you never know. I think what happened was that cupped washer probably got stuck to the filter and they just discarded it. So I don't know if you remember what that looked like before, but give me time for let the paint dry. So we'll put that on, and then these clamshells. Oh, that's gonna fight me. Oh, come on. There we go. There we go. This was supposed to just be a super quick and simple job, turned into a nightmare. Oh, you know what? Something to pay attention to. These, my camera moved. I can't touch it because I got dirty hands, but these are different. There's looks like there's a long and a short side. So pay attention to that when you put these back on. Looks like this side's a little bit longer and this side over here is a little bit shorter. Yeah, it's supposed to be a simple job. A couple 9/16 bolts, filter. Didn't know I was going to end up being ordering parts and trying to find stuff off a 57 T-Bird. See what that got us here on the level. Thanks for Eli too for measuring your dipstick without having one. You know, if you just tried to guess and find this, it'd be a mess. But all right, so that's still on the add mark. So what I'll do is I'll start the truck and let it circulate, because I did, if you saw earlier in the video when I broke that line loose off the steering box, there's definitely some air in the line, so we'll leave that for now. Hopefully that's all done. Like I said, this video is probably not going to help anyone, but John, if you're watching this, I don't know if you saw my post about the windshield washer reservoir. Mine's cracked too. I can't see the viewfinder right now, but of course, right after you post yours, I fill mine up, I drive it around, and I don't know if you can see any of that, but that's cracked. Found a replacement. This thing was made in 2015, so it's definitely newer than what's there. 24 volt, comes with the military plug, and that's all set to go. I think that was, I don't know, $50 shipped. So anyway, on to the next thing. Thanks.